Gizmos. There are 10 of them, and knowing how to use and counter them can be detrimental as they are a major key in winning matches. So today I will be teaching you 36 hidden techniques that will change your life. Let's start with the fun one. Sauna is very easy to abuse because basically the mirrored minis spawn back as full HP super minis. This can be very amazing if you mirror your hero because a superhero is very scary. Now tip number 2 is don't use the witch with it. If you are using the witch, there's a chance that one of the skeletons she spawns will die first, and they are low on HP and will waste your sauna on a skeleton, or shall I say a super skeleton. For tip number 3, let's take a look at the prince. If you give him the pony ability, then the sauna will not spawn a prince but instead will give you a super pony. On one hand, the prince is more tanky and deals more damage, but on the other hand, the pony is just... Tip number 4 is the final tip for the sauna, and it is not to be afraid of sacrificing one of your main win conditions at the start, because when they return, they can really shake things up and make for the disadvantage you got by waiting for them to respawn. The second gizmo I want to go through is the rocket, which brings me to tip number 5. The distance between the rocket and its target can make a difference. The closer they are, the faster the rocket can land, so it's a good idea to place the rocket a little high, but make sure you don't go too far and get it broken. Considering the rocket being too fragile, the opponent might T-tip Valkyrie or something on it, which brings me to tip number 6. If your opponent is doing something like that, simply have an ice wizard with a death KO, stay close to your rocket. The freeze will buy your rocket enough time to shoot. For tip number 7, you wouldn't want to lower the HP of the backline as the rocket target the mini with the highest HP. So I would say I prefer to not use archer or miner when I have the rocket, or at least not focus on upgrading them. Tip number 8 is about the shield maiden taunt, and I know this could be very difficult to pull off, but it can help get enemy minis close together for more rocket value. Third gizmo I'm gonna cover is the pancaker. Now tip number 9 is about this weird synergy between it and the mini P.E.K.K.A. The pancaker gives the mini P.E.K.K.A. an extra movement speed and attack speed, which I feel is a pretty awesome lore related Easter egg. Tip number 10 is about the lumberjack. With his new third upgrade, he gets a massive hit speed increase but would gradually lose HP. The pancaker would help him survive longer and would also make his super fast hits deal double damage. Talk about some crazy synergy over here. Tip number 11 is a bit obvious, and it's about how much of a menace a miner can be when getting buffed by the pancaker. He will be able to deal 4 damage with his backstab and will have so much sustainability it will feel like he doesn't die. Tip number 12 is about the shield maiden, because with the new rework she gains energy when she gets healed, and this includes every single heal tick. So basically she might gain like 9 energy from one pancake. I don't know man, it's just busted to use pancaker with her. Next gizmo is the macho Pancho, and tip number 13 is, I'll have to say this, Pancho is a permanent counter to miner. Just place it on a corner and have your ranged carry above it. Every time the miner tries to approach, he will get punched all the way back. It will be impossible for him to reach your ranged mini. For tip number 14, let's imagine you have a giant skeleton but your opponent places a Pancho on the middle to force you to lose some of his bomb radius. Well, you can keep him in the middle and have some range mini behind him like a bowler. That will prevent the Pancho from knocking back your giant skeleton. He will still get stunned, but I'm sure you will not notice the lack of his pathetic damage. Tip number 15 is against the Wave Master, and having your Pancho in this formation is very beneficial for stalling the Wave Master for a long period of time. And if you decide you wanted to swap sides, it's no problem, as you can put your ranged stuff like this and the bait will still work perfectly fine against the Wave Master. Tip number 16 is similar, but it's about the Countess, as you can make a setup like this to bully Countess players. Every time the Countess will try to teleport to your low HP, it will get yeeted away. And for tip number 17, if you really for some reason don't have the brain cells to place away from a row 1 Pancho, you can always have a War Tooth to cancel the effect completely. Next gizmo on the list is the Saint Mirror. Starting with tip number 18, the main thing you want to do against the mirror is to use healers to counter it, because without healers it's gonna be tough to deal with, especially for Archer Queen and Countess. For tip 19, the mirror can absolutely annihilate the monk by reflecting his super back to him. I feel like hero for gizmo is a good trade and I will take it any day. Tip 20 is a crazy lifesaver. Place the mirror in the middle, so when the super raged Abdod goblin tears down all your tanks, he will target the mirror and die in no time. For tip 21, I'll have you know, the mirror can be kind of effective against the Barcher strategy, so don't be afraid of placing your mirror in the back to kill this stupid little archer. Gizmo number 6 on the list is the War Tooth. Tip number 22 is for all the E-Wiz haters out here. If the enemy over-invests on E-Wiz, place the War Tooth behind close to your backline minis and their E-Wiz will be completely useless. 23rd tip is for Monk players. You almost hate it when your Monk gets taunted by the Knight or the Shield Maiden. Well, guess what? The War Tooth can completely cancel the taunt effect, giving your Monk the chance to destroy the enemy heroes. Number 24 is for those Clash spammers that can't stop crying because the Monk got a silence ability. The War Tooth can stop the Monk silence and your Clash abilities will work so you can spam them mindlessly. Keep in mind the Monk will still gain energy by the way. Number 25 is for those that have even less skill than the Clash spammers. So like any average Royal Ghost spammer, you will decide to start your round with a 3-star Royal Ghost on the first throw. How original. But the opponent decided to do a little bit of trolling and place a star 3 Ice Wizard so your Ghost got frozen. Well, with the War Tooth you can now continue your 0 skill strategy safely as it will cancel the freeze. Tip number 26. If you place a War Tooth close to your backline, then they will be immune to Fisherman completely. No more noobs winning by throwing a dice. What comes after number 6 is Gizmo number 7 and it's the King Tower. Tip number 27 is don't go for the King Tower unless you are up in rounds, because generally you can only use the King Tower on round 4, so it's risky to not use a Gizmo on round 3 if you are down 2 points. If you spam 2 elixir minis, none of what I said apply to you, so I guess you do your own thing. Now if you are wondering how to counter King Tower because it keeps breaking your rockets, well then tip 28 is just for you. The Monk can instantly KO the King Tower and save your Gizmo, and Clash abilities won't stop him because he have the silence. Pekka can work as well since she can break it in time, but make sure you have the 2nd star applied or she might get princed away or something. Gizmo number 8 is the Furnace. Yes, I will keep saying Furnace, it's much easier than saying Hotpot. Tip number 29 is you can place the Furnace down here because the Miner doesn't deal enough damage to break it, so he will waste time attacking it and then he will see a Potter punch on his face immediately. Tip number 30 is an easy way to counter the Potter and it's by using the Witch. Since the Potter deals less damage every time he hits, then it's nice to waste his big hits on skeletons. 9th Gizmo is the Training Camp. The fact that Training Camp forces you to place minis beside it brings us to tip number 31, and it's the Training Camp is vulnerable to Clash abilities. One of the best ways to counter it is by using stuff like the Fisherman and the Bowler, as they can't really move their minis away. Tip number 32 is about the Valkyrie Yeet strategy. Placing a Valkyrie in the Training Camp or really any other mini and yeeting it at the same time doesn't really cancel the Training Camp buff, so you can go crazy with that. Tip number 33, and let's simply just put it that way, the Training Camp gets destroyed by the Saint Mirror, as the mini will kill itself in a blink of an eye. The final Gizmo is the Elixir Collector, and I got 3 tips for that. Tip number 34 is make sure when you are placing your pump in the back to keep one tile below it empty. That way if they have an archer or a miner, you can easily place something below it to shut them down. Tip number 35 is to be mindful of your rerolls. With the Elixir Collector, you will be getting about 10 elixir instead of the original 6. So not having enough rerolls might put you in the position of having elixir but no minis to deploy. So you need to know how to manage the rerolls efficiently. Our final tip is to make sure if you see a pump with your opponent, by all means take it down. Some of the ways of chipping the pump down can be archer, miner, magic archer, or yeeting something with the wave master. That's all 36 tips. If you learned something new, hit that subscribe button to show some appreciation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.